we just got through a 2-hour public comment, very heated, a lot of frustrations out there. Your reaction to what you heard from parents and teachers tonight?
It's when you have budget cuts, it's huge. That means you have to cut people, and that's not something easy. We had plans that we had in place that we were going to go around and talk. Those plans got out early. We weren't going to make a decision today. It was just part of the process. So in our last board meeting, we adopted the resolution to go into sinking fund, but that wasn't our intention. It's just the start of the plan. So the plan wasn't just a one-time process.
I want to make sure I understand, because the meeting started with the announcement that the vote was going to be tabled.
Correct.
And then kind of in the middle of the meeting, we heard something to the effect of like, no, it's been taken off. That's not even an option anymore of closing the schools.
Right.
Could you just set the record straight on what is the decision? What is the plan moving forward as far as closing school buildings?
We aren't going to close any school buildings. So that's the plan. We're not going to close any school buildings. Yeah.
So the proposal for the closures is gone. It's axed. It's not going to be tabled.
Correct. It's going to be gone. Yep, it's gone.
So it's not really even tabled. It's really just
gone. It's gone.
It's just been eliminated.
Yep, it's been eliminated. So we'll look at alternatives. I mean, we'll have to look at sinking fund. We'll have to look at. I mean, when you look at the budget at the end, we really can't know what the budget is going to be like for next year until we clear this year. So there's a lot of different avenues that we can use. There's some 31A money that we may be able to use that we were using out of general fund to just move things. So when we look at the budget is based on general fund, not everything. So there's other options that we have. So we lost about 390 FTE, which are not actual students, they're FTE, which basically equaled about $4 million. So from there, we've gotten that down to about 1.7, between 1.4 and 1.7 million dollars. So we still need to make some more cuts. So hopefully hopefully we'll get some different monies in that would kind of help us along the way, but we may have to dig into our sinking fund in order to do that as well.
You guys lost so much funding from the state. Obviously, we know that's a big problem with the challenges. During the time period where you guys lost so much of the funding from the state, was the salaries of administrators, did they stay the same or did they increase?
Well, contractually they increased. I can give you a handout from there, but it was reported in MLive that we gave a $533,000 increase, but the net impact to our budget was only $120,000. So I think that's been a big misnomer out there, and it's not correct, and people are angry about it. And hopefully one day I'll be able to get to stand in front of everybody. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we'll be at Moon School and we're going and doing our rounds with the teachers, which is what we intended on doing anyway when we talked about school closings, to have that conversation, to have people ask those tough questions. But we just want to get that correct message out. So a lot of the anger and those different things you saw today is behind that, because when you look at what was published, it looked like there was a $500,000 increase, but in all actuality, it was not. So it's a frustration for myself, it's a frustration for the board, and it's a frustration for people when we're talking about cutting teachers and people feel as though administrative staff got these big, huge raises. So a part of that, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You keep going.
A part of the monies that was reported, it was kind of wordsmithing. So a part of that was me. So last year, before I became the superintendent, I was a special ed director and I was a curriculum director. I didn't take any money for being a curriculum director. So when we brought one in, it looks like that's a bigger impact to our budget, but it's not. We just brought somebody in to take the position that I was doing that I wasn't getting paid for. So those are the things that we want to clarify and we want people to understand, because this is not a situation that we want. We want the community out to give their voice, but we don't want them out in this light.
I know you guys are going to have to look at a lot of different options as to how to make the budget work. Is one of those options you guys will be looking at cutting administrator salaries? Will that be an option you'll look at?
That'll be an option to be cutting actual administrators as well. I mean, central office, building, those things are things that we have to look into, because we need to recover the rest of that money. We don't want to go back into having a deficit below our 5% fund balance. So that's been our goal, and that was our goal when we got into here. So the thing that I think that the other piece, and I'm kind of trying to explain everything, the other piece of that is when we started doing this work, we were asked to put proposals together. So we did put 4 proposals together to bring those forward. Okay.
Final. Kevin, did you have goes?
Okay.
I was just going to ask, the community came out in full force. You heard from students, teachers, just people who were very concerned. What is the biggest thing you took away from the over 2 hours of public comment?
I mean, that people want to have a voice. Our teachers and our parents want to have a voice. We want to have more opportunity. I do have a parent coffee once a month, and I don't get a lot of parents showing up. I'm looking at doing it at a different time so we can hear those voices, and I think that's important.
Mr. Jennings, it seems like a lot of the anger tonight was the way that the communication was rolled out last week.
Right.
Looking back now, do you now regret the way that was rolled out?
I regret the way that it was rolled out before we could talk to people, but due to the Open Meetings Act, people have to be allowed in, and we have to have that discussion that way, and there's no way that unless somebody doesn't write about when we have that discussion, when we meet in that committee forum, and we're looking at deliberating, any type of deliberations is open. So that's the difficult part that we had before, and I think before we weren't under so much scrutiny, and people didn't really take the time to worry about those things, but now we're under a lot more scrutiny, and that's what happens.
And to make the budget, is it safe to say that everything is on the table except for the closing of schools now?
Well, we're still going to have to, I mean, butts in the seat equals dollars. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that being said, but it does for us. I mean, that's how, as a school, you get your revenue. So we have to look at ways to make those cuts. So I think that as far as everything else, the buildings are definitely not going to be closed, but like I said, we're going to have to look at still cutting some administrators and possibly some teachers. That's just what we have to do in order to balance that budget, because we can't start off we don't want to start off below that 5%.